Hey guys, now let us talk about the Blumentritt and Rizal Bastion located in Litoměřice in Czech Republic and the life of Professor Ferdinand Blumentritt. The bastion is part of the city's fortification. After the walls ceased to fulfill their function, they were gradually dismantled and some were left into disrepair since the early 19th century. A complete overall renovation of the remaining fortifications was carried out in 1996. Then the bastion was named after Litoměřice teacher and scholar Ferdinand Blumentritt and the Philippines' national hero Jose Rizal, whose lives are presented in a permanent exhibition inside the bastion. Ferdinand Blumentritt was born in September 10, 1853, in the city of Prague. And from an early age, he became interested in Asia, and in particular, the Philippines. According to his memoirs, his great-grandmother from his father's side is a descendant of the Governor-General of the Philippines by the name of Alcazar. Also, he was influenced by his widow aunt who came from Peru and brought Spanish colonial world with her. Blumentritt finished secondary school in Prague and obtained a degree in history and geography at the Charles University. And at 24, he came to Litoměřice to become a professor in geography and history at the Classical Secondary School, eventually becoming a director from 1900 to 1910. So far, the career of Blumentritt did not differ from thousands of other officials in public education of the Austro-Hungarian Empire. According to his pupils, Blumentritt was somewhat small, highly spirited man who made the lessons constantly enjoyable with anecdotes, amateur theatricals, and drawings. He was a lecturer and author of articles and developed a deep affection to the Philippines, which led to his research and writings. He wrote extensively about the country, although he never visited the islands. Blumentritt kept a secret in his authority in Tagalog. At age 25, he published the Tratado Anonimo about an uprising against Charles V of Spain. The following year, he published The Chinese in the Philippines, which reads like a novel of adventure. It sketches the historical career of the Chinese pirate Limahon. Blumentritt perceived and foresaw that the Chinese were never sure of their lives. Like the Jews of Europe, the Chinese were everywhere in Asia, exposed to persecutions, met with hatred and envy because they were hardworking, clever merchants. But again and again they returned because, as Blumentritt so rightly declares about the Spaniards and the Filipinos, one thing they knew was that without the Chinese trade, without Chinese industry, the Philippines could not exist. Blumentritt's relationship with Philippine national hero Jose Rizal began as early as July 1886. Then, a Filipino student and writer, Jose Rizal learned about Blumentritt's research. He immediately sent him a letter, and the professor responded back. From then on, they start exchanging correspondence with books and maps of their respective lands. Blumentritt became one of Rizal's closest confidants, although they only met once. Rizal and his friend Maximo Viola visited Blumentritt in Litoměřice in May 1887. With Rizal's picture as Blumentritt's only reference, he picked them up in a train station with the whole Blumentritt family, his wife Rosa, the children Fritz, Dolores or Loleng, and Conrad. They gathered and received their guests at the platform. Then they led them to the Hotel Krebs, the most elegant hotel in town. They were given just enough time to freshen up, and they proceed to the house of Blumentritt, where a banquet is already waiting. And for 4 days, the guests were astonished over the native specialties served to them in the middle of the Bohemian Litoměřice, such as adobo, lechon, lumpia, pancit, kare-kare, and paella. The guests were nevertheless impressed not only by the hospitality, but more so by the friendship and attention shown to them. Every morning after breakfast, Blumentritt punctually appeared at the hotel to discuss the program for the day. He took his friends to the museum, to places of interest in the city, and introduced them to the leading citizens. And in the evening, the irresistible banquet in Blumentritt's house, followed by conversations which last till dawn, when Blumentritt took his friends back to their hotel. On their departure, the Blumentritts gathered in full at the train station. Rizal handed him a sketch portrait of himself, as everyone has tears in their eyes and embraced each other silently. When the train left, little Lolling ran after it until it disappears. Blumentritt translated a chapter of Rizal's book Noli Me Tangere into German and wrote the preface to Rizal's second book El Filibusterismo. He was against its publication as he believed that it would lead to Rizal's death. These two novels are commentaries disguised as fiction which anger both the Catholic Church and the Spanish colonial government, and which eventually led to Rizal's 1896 trial and execution. Before he was executed in Manila, Rizal wrote his final letter to Ferdinand Blumentritt. Blumentritt reportedly cried after receiving the letter. Blumentritt was also a significant contributor to the publication of La Solidaridad, published by Filipinos overseas as a voice for advocacy of political reforms in the country. He was anti-American and was even offered as a mediator for Spain and the United States in the Treaty of Paris, which Austria declined. Throughout his lifetime, he achieved awards and honors all around the globe, but he remained always a natural, affectionate, and unassuming person, sometimes given to melancholy moods and often visited by illness, which also made traveling difficult for him. He simply remained rooted to his cramped little native country, although with his knowledge and his prestige in the professional world, he could easily have assumed a position of authority in the big academic centers. He preferred to stay in Litomeris and influence the destiny of the world from his study room. Blumentritt died in the same city on September 20, 1913, 10 days after his 60th birthday. His death was printed in one whole page in the local newspaper, which tells about his accomplishments. And his funeral were described as a grand social event with generals, soldiers, the church, government officials, and numerous native and foreign scholars and friends. In the Philippines, his death was announced 2 days late due to the lack of information about the telegram's recipient, Mr. Rivera. Fortunately, an employee of the telegram knew Blumentritt and sent an inquiry to the family for precise information. The following day, the death notice was published with a picture of Blumentritt. That was the signal for the beginning of a national mourning, in a manner otherwise bestowed only upon the statesmen and eminent artists and scholars in their own country. Numerous personalities and organizations sent their telegrams of sympathies to Litomeris. There was hardly a newspaper which did not devote its editorial to the demise of the friend of the Philippines. He is memorialized in the Philippines by numerous public parks and streets such as the Blumentritt Road, Blumentritt Station, and Blumentritt Market in Metro Manila, and the Blumentritt Street in Naga City and Tuguegarao. His relations with Rizal also caused the twin status of the Sheikh town of Litomeris with the Philippine towns of Calamba, Rizal's birthplace, and Dapitan, where Rizal was exiled. Also in Litomeris, there is a guided map where you can visit all the sites where Jose Rizal and Blumentritt went during the former's visit. So that's it for the Bastion and the history of Professor Ferdinand Blumentritt and his relationship with Jose Rizal. Until next time, don't forget to hit like, share, and subscribe. Bye!